Well, hey, Matthew,
Hey,
we're
Teepa.
back.
Yes, we are back. And by the way, Teepa, this session today of Teepa for 10 and our sessions in February are brought to you by Nurse Partners. And Nurse Partners, they are serving the Philadelphia area and surrounding areas. And they've been around for 20 years. And their amazing logo or slogan, I guess I should say, is because there's no place like home, because they help folks stay at home longer and offer support in home. And so we're going to put the link in today for you guys to check out like we did yesterday. So if you get a chance, click that link and check it out.
All right. And this is, our way of getting things that we're doing reimbursed so that we can keep doing them. So we're looking around, going out and finding groups or agencies, organizations who were willing to sponsor the free content we put out every month. And this is an example of the free content we put out every month. We do Brain Connection Cafe. We do Bingo with Creativity. We do, last night we did the Dementia Problem Solving with PAC Team. We do Ask Teepa Anything. We offer Let's Talk for people living with dementia. We did that yesterday too. We do Courageous Conversations, and we do a lot of free things, and we love doing free things. The reality, though, is they're not actually free, and we do spend a lot of our time on it. So it's just a way to help reimburse what it costs to do this stuff. So anyway, just so you know, a lot of TikToks too. Forgot about those.
Yeah, and Teepa, just a heads up too for folks out there, if you're listening to this and you're interested in doing that sponsorship program with us, I will put the link as well in there so you guys can click on that and reach out to us if you'd like to do the same thing that Nurse Partners is doing with us this month. So let us know.
Okay, cool. All right, so getting all that out of the way. Our topic for the day, okay, so that's done. We did our thing. We'll be moving along quicker, faster from now on. But we just, we're getting used to it. It's a new thing for us. Anything that's new and different, you have to adapt to. So we've been talking about for several weeks now, a couple weeks anyway, the idea that when somebody has been identified as having some form of dementia, life is going to feel different. And yet all you did was go get a label on something. And it's an opportunity for things to be different. It's an opportunity to do something different, to think a different way, to behave a different way. It's an opportunity to recalibrate, to review, and actually take that step back, step forward, and go, okay, so what does this actually mean? And what it actually means is, okay, so you don't want to futz around with this thing. You really do want to realize, wow, okay, so that was sort of earth-shattering for me. Or maybe it just rolled off my back where it was like, yeah. So, but it's not bothering me yet. I don't think it's bothering me yet. And what's really important, we've said before, is to check in and see, is that true? I mean, are you feeling the same thing other folks are feeling around you? But then after you've gotten some sort of like, okay, I've had some space, I've had some distance, and here I am. Okay, I'm feeling it. Now what? And the answer is, okay, well, now it's time to do a little anticipation, preparation, and then initiate your new life. It's time to initiate and then actively participate in your new life. So then you'll want to evaluate how's it doing. And that may be best done with a team support. It may be better done with an individual support, but it's rarely well done as a solo support, because what we're talking about is figuring out, okay, so this is where I am, this is what's working, this is what's not working so well. These are a few of the variables that we could talk about. Environmental supports, we could talk about people and resource supports, we could talk about how I'm spending my time and how others are spending time, and is it feeling the same way it did? Am I doing things that give me a sense of productivity, of value, of pleasure, of fitness? I'm doing things that still keep me feeling cognitively and physically fit. And am I getting good restoration? Am I getting good sleep and rest and recovery? And then what about all the other medical things I might have going on, if any? And often I do. So, what about that management? How are we going to do that? So there's a lot of puzzle pieces to explore. But what we're talking about here is, all right, so we're gonna buckle down a little bit. I've got this news, but really, okay, so instead, what if the person were to say to you, okay, the provider were to say, what they said to you is you don't have dementia, you have diabetes. I can't cure it, but we can sure manage it differently. Okay. Now, there are a couple ways that will help you manage it that aren't based on medications. We can look at, what you're dealing with and whether or not meds might be something you want to add into the mix. But first of all, we want to look at what you're already doing. And let's figure out what's working and what's not. And let's then come up with a game plan that gives you a life that you're feeling pretty decent about. Let's start there before we start with, let's do a quick fix on meds. Because now if I said, Matthew, you're actually, what's going on, I think, is you're living with a diabetes condition. You've got diabetes. What's your first take on that? When I say those words to you, what's your first take?
My first take is, oh my gosh, so does that mean I'm going to have to start taking shots every day and I'm going to have to check my blood every day like I've seen other people do? So that's going to be like first thing pop in my head.
Yeah, so you're going to still need, okay, so what I'm going to have you do is, for right now, you're relatively stable. So this isn't like earth-shattering. It is life-altering, though. And so I'm going to give you just like a week, and I want you to come back, and we're going to talk about what we should do next. During that week, I am going to send stuff to the pharmacist to have them look at everything you're taking to make sure that we don't have medication things going on and that what you are taking is still taking into consideration this idea that you do have some form of diabetes here. It's not insulin dependent diabetes. It's more of an adult onset form. But I really can't just get rid of it for you. There's nothing I can do that's just going to cure it in your body.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, should I talk to like a dietitian or something? I mean, I've heard stories. People say that you got to change how you eat too. Is that something I need to check?
You do have some ideas, but before we go there, I want you to stay this week and, just sort of give yourself a chance to sit with this. But do you need some information so you can sit with it, or does it make you so anxious? Help me out here. Would you rather talk with somebody about understanding diabetes? Do you want to talk to somebody who's living with diabetes, or would you rather talk with somebody who understands from a provider's perspective what it might mean to live with diabetes?
Oh, I think
it would work better first.
I think it'd be great to, at least talk to somebody, I guess, who could tell me about, what it is and what's going on. And then I would love to talk to somebody who's actually like living with this every day to see what this means then. Okay.
All right. Well, so what I'm going to do is in, let's say a couple of days, because you are stable. I mean, you identified this really early on. So what it's going to allow us to do is this is not a, oh my gosh, it feels like it right now. So I want you to just take a couple of days to go, oh, good job, Matthew. You noticed something early on. That was really helpful. And I'm glad you had people around you that also noticed something early on, because what it's going to allow us to do is to really come up with a plan here that's going to work well for you. And the first thing I want you to really think about and feel about is, how does it feel to have this new thing in your life called diabetes? And I don't want it to scare you, but I do want you to realize, oh, there's this new thing that's going to impact my life. And it's going to affect a lot of different things about how I live my life. So I need to learn about it so I can put it in perspective.
Okay. So yes, so it doesn't mean an immediate change, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm suddenly going to have to change everything about what I'm doing. So you're saying I don't have to immediately change.
No, because that is rarely something that goes well and is successful, because this is sort of going to be a lifelong condition that can change over time. But for right now, I want us to sort of take stock of what's working well for you now and what you might want to work on. But I want you to take a couple days at least to sort of think, okay, so I'm living with this. And, I might ask you for a huge favor.
What's that?
What I'm going to ask you to not try to do is go and spend hours on the internet looking the worst case scenarios up, okay?
Yeah, you know me too well. Yeah, I would.
Well, I mean, I've had it happen where people like really, because what was the thing I said that I think is really important for you to hear? We caught it, Mary.
We caught it early. Yeah.
We caught it early. You really notice things early on. So it really is allowing us plenty of space and room to figure out, okay, so what's going well for you, and what are areas where you could possibly make some shifts that are going to keep you in the right lane living with this thing.
Well, and I guess the person that I could talk to that could explain it to me can give me that part. Because I think that's, besides knowing or feeling like I was going to have to change everything suddenly, just now wanting to know more about what this is,
cool,
I think will help me some as well. Because
okay.
I'll be very curious about that. I want to know, okay, what the heck is going on?
Absolutely. So now, Matthew, as we're talking, I'm going to pause this out of the role play. In that moment, were you more really interested in finding out about this thing that you are now recognizing you're dealing with? Because you had a lot of backstory on it, but now all of a sudden it's like, all right, now I actually am interested in living, because the way I framed it gave it a whole different feel.
Yeah. Honestly, Teepa, in that moment, the curiosity of wanting to know more, what's going on and getting more detail, immediately started popping up, because that the uncertainty, I think that idea of the uncertainty of what this means, where this could go, what is it doing to me, and what inside of me, those pieces really started popping up in my head. And so, like you said, I would probably go home, I would jump on the internet, and I would start looking up everything and anything on it.
So now, the way I've gotten Matthew empowered, do I need to wait 3 days for the next visit? Next week? No, he actually is ready to move forward faster. He's willing to participate in this because of how I prepared and anticipated and how I did this. Our challenge with dementia is people have the whole backstory. And right now, in this time and place, often people are much further along in their condition, and many families are further along, and many healthcare providers are further along before we're starting a conversation. And so we see the need to do so much changing and shifting and wanting to fix things. And if we don't do this, then we have to do this. And now we've got emergencies, or we're throwing our hands all over the place. And it's like, pause. Pause a second, because it really is the relationship that we develop and how we start to stay curious, how we are authentic. I mean, we're really authentically putting forward, well, you had this yesterday, and all we've done is identify what it isn't and what it probably is. We also are truly in this moment wanting to empower the human being, and there's a lot of compassion here. I mean, I've got to be compassionate. Oh my heavens. Wow. That's miserable. I mean, from now on, you're always having to, at some point, somehow be cognizant of something has to change. And it's like, well, something is changing. Something already changed, which is why you're having to make the modification. But now that readiness to learn is very different, in a sense of you're living with something. You are not that thing. You're having to figure out what it means in your life. And the people around you are going to figure it out too. But, diabetes is best managed when everybody's working together. So we don't put people in situations where they do things that, not the best option. But when people make choices that aren't the best option, well, let's remember, we've all made choices that are the best option for, things, but there are ways to deal and talk with it that feel a little different, and each of us is unique. So, no, I am not saying diabetes and dementia are the same thing. I'm saying that there are similarities in how we used to do the big scare and how do you give shots in an orange and all that as soon as you got diagnosed, because by the time you were getting diagnosed, you were having to take insulin to manage this stuff. But now we know a lot more about how bodies and brains and hormones and things work. And if we're having somebody who's checking in regularly with their health provider, then we notice things. And that's when we have those options, whether it's hypertension or whether it's, blood sugar, blood pressure, speed of heart rate, respiratory. We can do a better job of noticing, so we can do a better job of managing. So for people living with, I guess my final message is, finding a provider that gets it, or helping us help them learn more, so that we don't need to wait a whole week after a condition identification, because it's no longer a death sentence. It's an opportunity to look at what's working and what's not. And we don't see it as this dreadful, awful, the worst thing that could happen to somebody. It is a little different from cancer, but it's similar. It's a little different than diabetes, but it's similar. It's itself. And so I think until we get smarter about what this thing is, this ever-changing disability that's neurodegenerative, I think we have issues. So I'm not sure I answered any questions, but I hopefully got everybody thinking about how could we do this better than we've been doing it, because people deserve better. Matthew, any final thoughts or words here?
Yeah, Teepa, and I feel like on the other side of the coin, if I was more that person who is skeptical when you gave me that diagnosis, the way you approached me would still make me feel comfortable with you. You weren't just trying to ram the information down my throat. Look, you've got diabetes. Here's what we need to do about it. This is what you need to do. You just need to get on board. I feel like, I could have gone and gotten another opinion, but I would still feel comfortable going back to you if I had other doctors telling me the same thing, knowing that you were actually offering more support, and you were offering me time, and you were willing to reconnect. And, whereas I have a feeling the other doctors probably would be more on the other side and just say, look, you got diabetes. Here's the information. You need to change your diet. You need to start. So,
or you'll be considered non-compliant.
Non-compliant, yes, yeah. So, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I've got a feeling we have one final session in us. I thought this was it, but I don't know that it is. Because I think we do have to deal with the reality that for many, many people and families right now in this moment in time, they are in the middle of the condition. And we may need a different kind of approach and game plan a little bit. Because there is more concern over immediate issues. So, when we talk about that, trying to figure out what those are so we can not get so focused on, the dementia, but in fact, what's the symptoms? What are the symptoms of what's going on that we're really, or what's the situation that's creating the challenge? And let's focus on the situation and not the diagnosis and not the person. But let's figure out our puzzle and how we're going to work on that while we deal with the reality of now knowing what we're dealing with. But it sounds like the situation is really what we need to focus on first, and then come back to the bigger picture of the diagnosis. Because I think the situation is getting in front of the diagnosis. And until we can help people take a deep breath and look harder at that and figure it out, we're going to get stuck. So, Matthew, on Friday, tomorrow, we will finish this cycle up by talking about what if you are further in the condition when you first notice that that's what it is. And there are things happening. All right, everybody, take care with care. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.